We've got a fantastic presentation ahead of us, so should we get on with it? Good morning, everyone in the US. Good afternoon to everyone on this side of the Atlantic. We're very privileged to have Gonzalo with us today. Gonzalo is the technical director of Tempos Vega Sicilia, responsible for the production of all of the group's wines. So he will take us through the various wines and properties that are under the Tempos Vega Sicilia banner. So Gonzalo, thank you very much, and please, when you're ready.
Well, thank you for having me here. Please ask me as many questions as you have, and I will try to answer. I'm going to do the presentation. It's going to be more or less technical, but if you want to know more about history or I don't know what, just ask me and I will try to answer you. Okay. This is the winery of the wineries of the Vega Sicilia. This is the winery of Vega Sicilia. But in the history of Vega Sicilia, there has been many dates, important dates. 1864. 1864 is when it was when Eloy Lecanda planted the first vines in the winery. For me, Eloy Lecanda is a really visionary guy because I don't know why, but he planted in the right place. If nowadays we can drink wines from 30s, 40s, 50s, it's thanks to him because he put the vines in a wonderful terroir. And he also brought different varietals from France, and we still using Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. For me, Eloy Lecanda have an important place in the history of Vega Sicilia, so he's very important. After Eloy Lecanda, there has been many owners, family Herrero, brothers, then a guy from Venezuela, Neumann, Mr. Neumann, and finally in 1982, Mr. Alvarez bought the winery. Mr. Alvarez, David Alvarez, the father of Pablo, he didn't know anything about winemaking. He was a huge entrepreneur, but he has been always very smart, and he showed that there was business after that, and he was right. So he bought the winery in 1982. But for me, one of the best things he did was to put Pablo Alvarez in front of the winery in 1983. Pablo, at that moment, he was a winemaker, he was a lawyer, 34, 35 years old. He didn't know anything about winemaking, but like Eloy, I think Pablo, he's also a visionary guy. The first decision he took, with no knowledge at all, was to stop using herbicides. Nowadays, everybody is ecological, everybody is biodynamic, but in 1983, nobody was like him. So for me, it was the first huge decision he took. The second decision he took, it was to stop using fertilizers and start using compost, and it was at the same time. So Pablo is like a sort of a visionary guy, and it's also very important in the history of Vega Sicilia. We are also planting around, we have now already around 500,000 trees in between cork trees and oak trees. And maybe in 80 more years, we will be able to produce our own corks, and maybe in 200 more years, maybe we will be able to produce our own barrels. But I don't know if this is too much visionary, but I think it's great that we planted this tree. He's a visionary, but also he's a smart guy because we've been investing in several projects, and nowadays all they are working very well. The first project where we invest was in 1991 in Allion. The objective when he started investing in Allion was to produce a more cosmopolitan style of a Ribera del Duero wine in Allion, and to keep the more traditional wines in Vega Sicilia. Nowadays, Allion, you know all that Allion is one of our playboys. It's like a wine that everybody likes everywhere. The second project where they invest, it was in 1993 in Tokai. Tokai is a huge region where you can produce gorgeous wines. And when we had the opportunity at the beginning of the 1990s, we went there, and now we are really happy to be there. It has been a long way, but Tokai is one of the mystic places to produce wines. We went to Pintia. Pintia is Toro. Toro is a fantastic place, more challenging to produce wines, but also where you can produce great wines, and especially as a type of wine that you love in United States. And the last project is Macan, a joint venture between Benjamin de Rothschild and Vega Sicilia, and it's the last challenge. We have to show people from Rioja that a producer from Ribera can also produce great wines, and our objective is to produce one of the best wines in Rioja. So in these 38 years, we passed from one winery, Vega Sicilia, that at that moment we were producing around 100,000 bottles, 200,000 bottles, depending how was the vintage, to nowadays that we are producing in 5 wineries, and we produce in between 1.2, 1.5 million bottles. In 1982, the wines were sold mainly in Spain. Maybe 5% was sold outside of Spain. Nowadays, 60% of the production is sold outside of Spain, and United States is one of the best markets. And for me, what is much more important, in 1982, we were a really reputed winery in Spain, but not really known outside of Spain. And nowadays, in 2020, we are a really reputed wine group in the world. Sometimes when I go to Burgundy, sometimes they say about Vega Sicilia that we are the Romanée Conti de España. And when they say that, I really feel very proud, because people think that we are one of the most prestigious wines in the winery. And for me, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I think Pablo, in these 38 years of history, have a lot of to do with this, because he started traveling 35 years ago when he didn't speak any word of English, and he has been showing our wines all around the world. So now the people really understand what is Vega Sicilia. About the history, well, here you can see we have 4 wineries in Spain. We have 1 winery in Hungary, but for sure that we are thinking in new projects. Pablo and the family, they are always thinking in new projects, but new projects that we feel passionate about. So the hand of the man is very important in the production of wines. And for us, the man of the hand and the vines are the most important things. The vines, this is one of the oldest vines we have in Vega Sicilia, Ontañón. It's around 120 years old. You can see here in this part of the vine that have a white thing. These vines help us to do our massal selection. From these vines, we have done a massal selection where we had 80 different clones of Tempranillo. We have analyzed all of them, and we select 25 of them, and we plant it in another plant. For us, it's very important to keep this all material vegetal, how do you say that? To keep all these vine heritage, to keep all these old Tempranillos, because they're going to help us with the complexity of the wines. So this is in all our projects. We have done clonal selection, the soils and the terroir is where we start producing wines. And for us, in all our wines, we want to show where the vines were grown. And for us, our vines, our soils, our terroir is our heritage. Okay?